Hey, it's Emma Romano here, founder of the Thrive and Life Foundation, self-healing coach, and the midwife to your personal alchemy.
I am Kelly Bowen, founder of the Heaven Within Foundation, CEO of Lifestyle Finance Australia, finance expert, life and business coach.
And you are listening to Inspired Conversations,
where we talk about the things that really matter. Yes, we go there.
We share together what's exciting us, inspiring us, and having the most profound impact on our lives and our clients' lives. And we do this to elevate and inspire you.
We cover it all from life, body, love, relationships, trauma healing, addictions, business, money, and all things woo-woo.
So sit back, relax,
and get ready to be inspired and laugh the fuck out loud.
Welcome everybody, this is Emma Romano for Inspired Conversations. Kelly is really mega busy right now, and I get the pleasure of having an inspired conversation with this incredible man, Hayden Crawford, who's from England, dwells and lives in Perth with his beautiful husband, Mark. Hayden is one of the people who keep my shit together. I've seen Hayden quite a few times. He's an incredible therapist, past life therapist. Oh my God, just all kinds of stuff. Hayden, I'm just going to open the show. Hayden's very magical. So Hayden does his incredible work with colors, colored mirrors, colored waters. It's incredible. But he also has this very deep connection to mystical Andromedaeans, cosmic things. I'm just going to... Hayden, welcome to Inspired Conversations, my love.
Thank you very much, Emma. It's lovely to actually connect with you. I miss you when I don't see you, and you are a big inspiration to me as well. So the feeling's mutual.
Oh, I love you. For those listening to this podcast, we actually do video these on YouTube, so make sure you have a look. Hayden, first off, how do people find you?
So if anyone wants to contact me, they can find me all over the place, really. I'm all over the internet. So I've got a YouTube channel, Dreamtime Academy. I've got my website. Well, I've got two, because I've got a learning portal, as well as my traditional website as well, which is www.dreamtimeacademy.com.au, and the other one is dreamtime-academy.com. Then they can also find me on Facebook, and I've got my own Facebook group as well called Andromedans, which is actually going from strength to strength, because I'm finding more and more people are starting to open up to their starry origins.
Yes, and I really do encourage people, if you're ever interested in learning things, go on to Hayden's website where he actually teaches you courses. I've done a couple of his courses and they're brilliant. And I've learned a lot and implemented them in with my own clients. So thank you for that. Hayden, what would you feel? How could you inspire our listeners right now? What would you like to share with them?
Okay, so the interesting thing is, like, we are going through a massive time of change on our planet, and it's actually been going on for quite a few years now, but it kind of peaked quite a lot in 2020 when the Starseed Awakening was taking place. And what I mean by that is that people started recognizing that there wasn't really any truth in the stuff we were taught at school about that we evolved from a little ape and then, became a human, because there's this massive chunk missing out the middle. And, we evolved very, very quickly in a very short space of time. And, so all of a sudden our architecture was more advanced than what it used to be. And, the Neanderthal man couldn't have been able to dream up all of this incredible mathematically orientated architecture. So there must have been an outside influence. So, what people have started to realize is that their soul may have come in from a very different place, so a different galaxy, a different constellation, or even a different universe. And, even though they're human by birth and by DNA. So people started to, in 2020, sort of when it peaked, they started feeling strong connections to, like, Lyra, like you, or the Pleiades, or Arcturus, or Alpha Centauri, or Orion, or Sirius, or Andromeda, like me. And so people started recognizing that there were multidimensional beings of light living out temporary human experiences, and that they were here for an actual purpose. So this awakening of humanity is part of the ascension process, so we are evolving as a race. We're moving up the dimensions from the third into the fourth, and finally into the fifth, where it's all going to merge together. And we're going to become light bodies. So we're going to be able to access different realms of consciousness through, just the natural processes. And it's for those who want to participate, they can evolve quite quickly, but not everybody does, So a lot of people are stuck in the 3D and the red energy, I call it, So in color therapy, red is quite a challenging process to work through, because it's where all your resistance is, all your victimhood, all your fear, all of that survival stuff.
Yes,
And because
it's very limited. When you're in the red, it's very limited. Like, do you know what I call it? I call it, and I've just recently had a lot of clients who kind of wear this like a badge of honor. I'm stubborn. And I'm like, why do you want to be stubborn? Like, why would you want to be that? Like, no, I'm stubborn. It's like this crowd there. I'm like, why the fuck would you want to do that? Like, don't be stubborn. It's just closed-mindedness. It's a closed mindset. It's like everybody else has to change, but fuck you, I'm staying the way I am. Like, what? I don't understand that. Why would you want to feel like that? Yeah, that's what I call the red, stubborn.
It's so true. It's exactly that, it's like, they're so used to being a victim that they want to just stay in that, wallow in their own self-pity. So it's the martyrdom, it's the victimhood, and it's that, that's triangle of the victim, rescuer, and abuser. So, and it is really limiting. And then the excuses that you get with people in red are things like, oh, I've always been like this. And it's like, well, if you've always done what you've always done, you'll always have what you've always had. So you've got to start taking risks on new behavior, right? You know that.
100%. We want to be adaptable. I always think the best mindset or the best way to be is adaptable. So you be open to things, and then you get to choose. Like, if someone says, oh, you can choose to be something different. It's great. You could choose whether to be a fucking idiot or you can choose to be an awesome person. Like, do you want to get me? It's like, but it's all a choice. And that's, yeah. Can I tell my big, awesome story about how you helped me so much?
I'd love to hear it.
It was this year, I think. I can't remember. Yeah, it was this year. I can't remember what happened, but I was in a really bad space. Something had happened this year, and or was it last year? I can't remember. And I was in a very stuck mindset. And I think it was about my father. And I have issues. I haven't spoken to my father for 10 years, and trust me, it's a good thing, right? So it's my choice to not speak to him because he's very toxic, right? He's very toxic to me, very toxic to my children and my husband. So it's just healthier. I can love him from a distance. And there was like, with me, there was a certain energy of, I would go through processes where I just felt I could not stand the injustice. I would get swept up in an energy of there is an injustice in the world or something's in injustice. So I contacted Hayden. I said, for fuck's sake, please sort me out, right? And Hayden took me through a past life regression. And it wasn't a past life regression. It was a past planet universe regression. And it was unbelievable. And I went straight back to a time where I was on a planet and I was a man, and I had a wife, and lo and behold, my wife was actually my best friend Shani's daughter, Zalia. And we were happy. We had sons and we were all living a great life. I think I taught geometry or something like that. I was a teacher, had a great time. Everybody loved each other. Everyone had their place. It was fantastic, and it was blown up. And I was there at the blow up. I saw it, and my wife, who is now Zalia, was bawling her eyes out. She didn't understand. And I couldn't protect everyone. I couldn't save anyone. And I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. It wasn't like we'd done something wrong and we'd been punished. And this has, I mean, I'm 51 and this has been playing out my whole life. Because, you know, shit happens. Like, people can be mean to you. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. For me, having an injustice was like worse than a death for me. And when I went through this thing with Hayden, I was like, my God, this explains so much of why sometimes I can't let events go. They'll sit in me and I'll stew on it and they'll sit in my energy, and I'm in a low frequency when that happens. And when you're in a low frequency, you attract low frequency, right? So you are what you think and what you feel. And I could be stuck in this, like, you know, that person did this to me, how dare they? And then I'd be fine. And I'm, no, here, we're back here again. And learning, going through this literally lifted 50 years off me. And I just got it, because it wasn't something from my lifetime, this lifetime. It was something that happened millions, billions of years ago that had simply been in my spirit, my soul, and there was a remembrance of it. So I just wanted to share that. So Hayden, thank you so much. And this is where this man, Hayden Crawford, is an incredible practitioner, therapist, teacher. You inspire me and I love you. Sorry, I'll shut up. You can keep talking now.
Oh my God, I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that as well, because I remember your session quite clearly.
It was huge for me.
Because I remember this conversation now, and because when you go through the regression, I almost feel like I'm treading by your side. So I'm kind of holding your hands, and I actually experience some of the visuals that you experience and the feelings. So I could remember, and actually this is a very common occurrence. Now, it's interesting that we should be talking about red as well, because the Lyrans, they are, they're here to support us with our base chakra issues. So all these issues of victimhood, we were talking about anger, safety, security, they are fiercely passionate about life and the adventures and thrill seeking, when they incarnate in human form. And, this is part of your mission as well, is to help people work through their sort of shadows within their red energy. And of course, one of those is that sort of injustice and judgments and all of that kind of crazy stuff that keeps you in separation, because that's what keeps us in duality. See, we're evolving as a human race more towards the Syrian culture, which is divine feminine. Well, it's actually androgynous, and it's more bringing the divine masculine and divine feminine back together. So that's how we are actually evolving, but some of us quicker than others. And of course, you're going through that and going into this otherworldly encounter. I always call them parallel lives now, not past lives as such, because they are happening simultaneously. And that's why you get so affected by those patterns, that play themselves out time and time again, and they affect your energy levels. But when you can pinpoint it and remember, like you said, it's a remembrance, the awareness is what takes you beyond it. And that's why your 50 years has gone, that 50 years of baggage, you'll be able to put down and kick it into the ditch. It
was amazing. Can I share with you and our listeners something that was, you talk about parallel lives. This really was evident to me when I was in Egypt. So when I was 24, I was living in Santorini. And after 3.5 months of living there, I was actually kidnapped. And I was being groomed for 3 months by an Egyptian man. And I was kidnapped. There was 4 other women, and I was about a size 14, size 16 back then. It was all the alcohol that I was drinking at 24 and the chips. Anyway, I was drugged, and I was being loaded onto a flight from Santorini to Cairo, and they found us girls. I don't remember. I remember being put into the car, and then I woke up in the hospital. So that's all I remember. When I got to Cairo, now that's when I'm 24, I'm 51. So I just came back like a week ago from my trip. I kept having a vision of me on a very dirty mattress, waking up with my hands tied behind my back. And I'd obviously defecated, like shat all over myself and peed, and I'd vomited all over myself. And I had to keep telling myself it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But it was almost like it was a parallel life that was currently playing out another part of me because I hadn't been rescued. That was really crazy to me. And it was almost like I had to go to Egypt to rescue that side of me. You know, so I did, when I was in Egypt, I sat there and just imagined I was talking to that part of me that I had left, that I had let somebody take me. I had let this guy groom me, befriend me. I trusted him. And, you know, it could have been catastrophic for what had happened, but it didn't. It wasn't. And it was a part of me that I had to heal and rescue and bring back to myself. It was really quite amazing. So, Hayden, what are your thoughts on parallel lives?
Wow, I just love that, and thanks for, that is an amazing story to share. It's quite intimate, and I feel like, what, the same thing happened to me, but I was younger though. We'd got off the hovercraft in France with the family, and a woman came up to me, and my parents are obviously looking the other way, and she grabbed my hands and she says, "Come on, we're off to the fair," like that. And I remember like holding this woman's hand and looking at her, and she was wearing this herringbone coat. She had short hair. I can still remember to this day because she reminded me of one of my mum's friends back in the UK.
How old were you? How old were you?
I was only about 4 years old.
Oh.
And I was like, "Where's the fair? Where's the fair?" Because I was like listening out for it because I knew about fairs because my gran used to live in Stokesley and it had a big fair out of her window in September. But I couldn't hear anything, no music or anything. I was going, "Where's the fair? Where's the fair?" And she said, "It's just round the corner. It's just round the corner." And I was being taken off. And even at the age of 4, I had in the pit of my stomach this knowingness that this wasn't good. It wasn't going to end in happily. Yeah. And so I didn't trust her and I couldn't break free. And then all of a sudden I looked round and Ben and Jeremy, my friends that were on holiday with us to France, we'd gone to Brittany to stay in a farmhouse, and they said, Hayden, come on, we've got to go. So they'd obviously seen this woman taking me off, and I managed to break free. And as soon as she saw them, that was it. And that part of me never happened. But I get that feeling as well that there's an aspect of me that lived out that experience too. So even though I was rescued, that wounded child still feels this sense of being like having its freedom taken away. And that's one of my biggest fears now, is like having my freedom taken away from me, and sort of being held captive. And so parallel lives are as real as our actual life that we are experiencing. There are millions of different versions of us that have made different choices, that have had different experiences, and they're all running simultaneously. So we can tap into those, and it's part of your wounded inner child healing, or part of your healing journey, is you can have conversations with those aspects of self, whatever part of the timeline that it's on, and bring understanding and actually free them from that torturous situation.
It's so fascinating. Like, if anybody's sitting there thinking that it's just us sitting here in this 3D world, you're very mistaken. Like, we are multifaceted. We are multi-universal. Like, we are so much more than what we are just here. Thank God.
Thank God, it'd be boring otherwise, wouldn't it?
Oh, wouldn't it be? I know. Hayden, what got you, like, you're an incredible guy and you're just so open and loving and beautiful, and you have this gorgeous husband, Mark, and you've been together for 150 years. You and Mark have been together for how long? 20 years or something?
Yeah, it's been 20 years.
You've got a beautiful relationship. How did you get to be the man you are today?
Oh, look, it's been through like I've had lots of trials and tribulations. And it's funny because I was talking to a woman only last week, and she sort of said to me, "Oh, I can see, you've some people have things handed to them on a plate, and I'm just like, God, you don't know me at all, Beverly Jane, do
I
you?
know. Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like I've been through so much. I've been, I've been kicked out of Australia by overstaying my visa when I was in my 20s, couldn't come back for 3 years. In that time, that's when I met Mark, when I was working as a holiday rep over in Madeira. And, so, I've had, oh God, you name it, I've been through it. I've had so many things thrown at me. The challenge of coming out, the challenge of, sort of just like everything, not knowing who I was, the things that I studied at university not being right, moving into the media industry and realizing it wasn't for me, working 15 years in IT recruitment before I had my midlife awakening. There was, and all of this, it sort of impacts on the person that you end up becoming. But Mark, granted, he was almost like, my savior at one point. Probably my lowest ebb in my life is when I met Mark, and I was my most lost. And there was lots of things playing out during that time where I could have like exited. I could have gone, but I didn't, because I knew I had the support there. But it was the first time in my life that I felt like that I was truly understood and actually truly loved. So we should never underestimate the power of our partners. They can literally save our lives.
Yeah. I was the same with Anthony. Anthony and I have been together. It'll be 20 years this coming June. And I was at my lowest when I met Anthony, and he's just my saving light, and then there's been so many peaks and valleys throughout our 20 years together. I mean, it was only 2014 when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. That's another really low part. And he's just there. He's just this beautiful, solid, masculine energy. He's incredible. But there is a question I want to ask you, and I don't know if you know much about this, because I only discovered this year. Midlife awakening versus midlife crisis.
Well, it's a positive slant, isn't it? It's a positive slant on something that can feel really overwhelming. And, that was, my midlife awakening, as I call it, was, it had been building up for quite a few years, and I just hadn't listened. I was stuck in corporate IT recruitment, and I'd done it, sort of in London and Milton Keynes, and then came over to Australia when we emigrated. And I went back into it because it was my safety net. And then I was doing it for another 5 years. But over that 5 years of kind of, I was almost fulfilling what my parents' expectations were of me, that you have to work hard for a living, doing something that you don't want to do, and that money doesn't grow on trees. So I was still caught in all of that red scarcity stuff. And of course, I was too scared to look outside of the box and see what else there was. So, but I kept ignoring all of these little hints until I started exploding with anger, and I couldn't even recognize who I was. Like, I was getting so angry. I told my parents to fuck off out of my house. One time when they came round, it was like, it wasn't who I was. It was disturbing for me, and I couldn't even recognize them, but it was because I couldn't recognize myself. And anyway, so it reached this crunch point, and I remember lying there in bed one morning and just saying, well, look, what would I do if I don't do this? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And even at that point, I was finding it quite hard to listen to my inner guidance system. But all I received was, you've got to work with color. And I didn't even know what it meant. So I had a feeling that I would end up working in color therapy, but I didn't really know where to find out about all of this stuff. So at first I thought I was supposed to become a painter. So we sold our house in Mandurah. We moved down south to the southwest to Margaret River. And for 4 years, I reinvented myself from this corporate weird person who I'd turned into. And I put together an exhibition, and actually all of the paintings that I created during that first 2 years I was there were very cosmic landscapes. They were very otherworldly, and I'd even channeled some quite unusual sort of half cat-like, half humanoid beings and that type of stuff as well. And I was like, well, I was just trying to create an exhibition and I was just following my gut. But nobody bought my paintings and nobody liked them. Nobody identified with them. And even I didn't like them and I didn't even enjoy painting them. It was so strange. And I just thought, shit, here's me giving up my life. You know, I was on really good money. I was at the top of my game. You know, I was like, it wasn't like I was flunking in the industry. I was a business manager of an international IT recruitment firm, and I was making over $250,000 a year, but I was miserable. And I was like, what is going on? So when people started, you know, not like connecting with my art, I took it really personally. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And it was by default. You know, I always say that things find you. It's not the other way around. It's like numerology found me, color therapy found me, and I knew it. As soon as I saw it, it was like a soul calling. I had to study this and become a teacher. And that's when, you know, the color mirrors came in, and the rest is history really for me now. Like, I've found my thing. It's the thing I love. It's the thing that's helped unravel my cosmic consciousness. It's the thing that's helped me to really let go of the old version of myself that was limited and, you know, kind of like just trying to be someone that I thought everybody else wanted me to be.
I love it because what you teach and what you do for others opens up such beyond the imagination of deep healing for people. Like, it is cosmic. It's when I first was introduced to you and what it was doing for me, I didn't even understand it. And I just was like, okay, I'll just go for it. And with me, I'm kind of a slow burner when it comes to aha moments. It'll be something 3 months down the track and I go, shit, I don't feel like I used to before, or I don't do that old thing anymore. And I'm kind of a slow burner like that. And what you offer for the world is so deep and meaningful and completely magical. It is such a strong modality that it's incredible. I'm so blessed for one that I get to know you and we're friends. And I'm so blessed that you've been a big major part of my healing journey as well. And people think a healing journey from the MS. I've got to tell you, everyone, healing from multiple sclerosis is really fucking easy. Healing from trauma, shame, anger. I was like you, Hayden. I was very angry. And I knew I had to change when I was in a shopping center and I tripped over a pusher, and this woman had a go at me because she was just in fear that I was going to hurt the baby, right? And I wasn't. I literally wanted to go this woman. And I frightened myself. And I really scared myself. I was like, oh my God. I was just this angry woman. And I think that's why I drank so much as well, just to keep the lid on the pot. You know, and then when I really started going to my healing, the hardest thing the deep healing work is not an ailment. The deep healing work is the spirit, is the soul, is the emotional stuff. And that's where people are really scared to freaking look at. But you know what, listeners? It is one of the best freaking things you can do for yourself, especially when you've got the right therapist. And, you know, it doesn't take one therapist or one kind of practice. It takes many. You know, I have so many people looking after me, and, you know, we all do. But to be able to be supported and really delve and know that it's a choice and you get to heal it instead of I have to heal it, I get to heal it. It's a completely different energy. And I'd never, ever heard of colored mirrors in my life. So, Hank, can you explain just a little bit what colored mirrors is about, please?
Yeah, of course. So the color mirrors it's a sequence of 87 different dual colored oil bottles. I've got these ones on my desk at the moment. So I'm holding a beautiful, like, solid pale gold over indigo blue and a beautiful deep blue lilac bottle as well, because they help me speak my spirit and also tap into my ancient wisdom as well, you know. So the color mirrors reveal to us what our conscious and subconscious patterns are, so that we can become aware of them, and then we can basically do something about them. So they shine back to us, where we maybe have some healing that needs to be taking place, but also what our potential is as well. So they reveal your emotions, and these combinations of different colors, they work on your health and well-being, all your issues and blocks, your true potential in life and purpose, and actually they reflect back to you these subconscious patterns of behavior, which could be like creating issues such as a lack of money, or challenges with love or health or happiness. But at the same time, they shine back your potential that you hold, your unlimited potential, and your gifts and talents, and your personal power. So in a typical consultation, I would ask people a selection of questions. Where are you at in your life right now? And then they would choose a bottle or bottles. Where do you want to be? What action steps do you need to take to get from where you are now to where you want to be? What's your biggest obstacle or challenge to overcome? And then what is your highest potential in this situation? And then from that, I ask the person to position the bottles in a particular shape or pattern. And then I also ask them to to sort of pick out the one or two bottles that they most connect with. And then I read the numerology of the bottles, the overall color feel of the bottles, and then the individual answers to the questions. And then at the end of the session, depending on what arises, I'll go through a process of just some simple Socratic questions to find out what the limiting beliefs are, and then eventually take them up out of their current conscious state, down their timeline into the past. And usually I've found it's wounded inner child healing, because we've got numerous different aspects of the wounded inner child that exist on the timeline. And I will kind of overlay the old belief. And then from there, clearing the past timeline, move back to the present and into the future, and connect up with the future version of self in a shimmering platinum light, and then open up a dialogue. So what happens is that person taps into their multidimensional consciousness and is able to not only see what's been holding them back, but also give their younger self the answers and solutions. So I'm not doing anything. I'm just facilitating a process, which is really empowering for the person who's being involved in the session. So the color mirrors are unique, that you can bathe in them to be able to release those old patterns from the actual cellular memory as well, because the body stores all of this shit, doesn't it? And it manifests as pain, as joint clicks, and all this sort of ringing in the ears and whatever else you've got. But I also will bring in the ascended masters, because color is just a frequency of energy, and it connects up to the light rays and the ascended masters. So I also bring in Yeshua, Mother Mary, Melchizedek, and Buddha, amongst many other ascended masters. And I've just started working, funnily enough, with the ancient Egyptian gods as well. So because they reveal so much about the truth of who we are and our I am presence, which sits kind of at the top of the 12 dimensions of consciousness.
I love it. So you know what? When I first did the colored mirrors was about 2-3 years ago, I think, and I'm sitting there, and you think you know what you're doing, but when you just you want to go further, but you don't know what you're doing that's blocking you. That's what I love about the colored mirrors. It was just kind of some it was great, because when I did it, it was just a few things I had to tweak, but I was completely unaware of that was the block. It's like the little secret key to unlocking to what you want. I love it. I
love that. That's a really good description. It's a secret key to unlocking what you want, because most of the time we're not aware of what is blocking us.
Yeah, we don't know. And it's just little like, that's what it is.
And it is magic. You're right. It's magic, and it's alchemy taking place with this, because, we don't have to rationalize how this stuff works. It just works, and the more faith you put in it, and you just get out your own way, because the logical, rational reptilian brain just wants to keep you safe, it will stop you from experiencing that transmutation. Yeah. So the color is intelligent, and it just goes where it needs to go. And before you know it, it's almost like those things no longer serve to, stop you from really becoming an evolved being of light, which is the truth of who you are. Like, you are an ancient, immortal being of light. And you're just living out a very temporary human experience. And knowing that, knowing that truth, it sets you free, and you can feel the truth in your heart. So it was like when I was told I was Andromedan in the middle of the night. I didn't even know what it meant. I literally, I was trying to hold on to this word Andromeda. And I Googled it the next morning, and then the pennies just started dropping. And when you go hot and cold, and I was just like, what like, I've set up the Dreamtime Academy, not even knowing what the hell it was supposed to be. Wow. And all of a sudden, I'm teaching people how to rediscover their inner wisdom so that they can feel a greater sense of freedom. And of course, the Andromedans are all about freedom. It's all about freedom and self-love and self-acceptance. And that was what I was doing, but I didn't even know why I was doing it. So it's been completely guided, this whole amazing journey. And it's, it does, sort of, sometimes it never ceases to amaze me. It's a world full of wonder, and you never know what you're going to get next. Believe in magic. We did as kids, didn't we? We all believed in magic until the parents went, "Oh, you're mad," or whatever.
Yeah, it's that closed-mindedness. And you know what I have found? I find the most successful people, and you know what? Success, it was something I've learned lately in the last, probably this year specifically. I've never traveled so much as I have this year. So we're on the 20th of December 2022. I've gone to Fiji. I've been to Noosa twice. I've been to Port Douglas twice. I've been to Bali. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Thailand. Where else have I been? I've been to Jerusalem, Israel, and I've been to Jordan. I'm about to go to America, because people will say, "I want money." You don't want money. You want what money gives you. So this is what I say to people. Well, if I gave you $1 million right now in cash, but said you can't spend it, it's just the cash, you got the money. But it's just freaking paper unless you can spend it on something, right? So this year I was all about lifestyle. And what I learned was the word "and" instead of this or that. So instead, people say, "Oh, if you've got the money, you can't do this," or "if you're broke, you can't." You can do whatever you want. But what I want people to do is this. This is why I really want to inspire people. Be adaptable. Adapt your thoughts. Adapt your heart. Adapt your love. Adapt what you're doing daily. Adapt your habits. It's just an adaptation. And I find that people who are the most successful, and I don't mean, we're not sitting in multi-billion-dollar homes here, but we have really enriched relationships with our partners, with people around us. We can afford to go out for dinner. We have great people around us. That's the lifestyle. It's because I feel the most successful people are adapters. We adapt. If something's not working for us, we don't blame something else outside of ourselves, because that means I'm too fucking stubborn to change my mindset. That other person has to, or the government has to, or this has to, or that has to. It's bullshit. We can adapt. And I'm here to inspire people just to adapt, just tweak, just open a little bit. Just instead of shutting it down, what if it's possible?
I love that. That's so true. And it goes back to what we were saying before about, this mindset of being stuck. The reason why people feel stuck is because they keep on doing the same old stuff. They're just not trying that new thing. Adaptability is a beautiful word. And it's something that, it just opens up possibilities, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you know what? We can still doubt something and adapt to something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can, "Oh, look, I can't do it because I doubt it." You can doubt it, but you can still adapt. You can still have a go even though you doubt it. You can still have a go even though you fear it, where people think it's one or the other. I can only do that if I'm 100% confident in it. No one's 100% confident in anything that they try the first time. Everyone's like, "I don't know," but you can adapt. You can give it a go. And
so would you say as well that you're, one of your keys then to abundance? Because I know that you're like an abundance magnet.
Yeah.
Would you say that that is because you say you don't just go, well, it's going to be that or that. You go, I'm going to have that and I'm going to have that.
I'm back to the Lyrans I'm back to the Lemurian times. Lemuria was before duality. So Lemuria, it was and I can have fear. I mean, God, I'm so human, and I can shit myself about something and I'll give it a red hot go. I can be fearful of failing and still give it a go. So I just use the word and all the time. So that's what it's about. And I just find when you adapt the word and, it's just universe just says, yeah, she's ready. I'm not blocking anything. Because for me, I just feel, this is kind of my analogy, I just feel like, pretend we've got a million hoses coming, say, from God or spirit or universe, whatever anyone calls it, right? Say we've got a million hoses and they're all just funnels of way that we can have whatever we want. And I just feel if I say no, that's a kink in that hose. Right? Now I can get drips come through it, but it's only a drip. It won't flood to me. I want shit to flood. I want it all. Okay. I want all of it. And I can be fearful because I used to be fearful, then not do it. So I thought, okay, if I don't have the confidence, I can't do it. I got that very confused. I can have no confidence in something, but still give it a red hot go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the difference, where I've adapted that mindset. I've adapted to that. And that's a huge, it's just taking out some kinks out of the hoses.
I love that analogy. It's a brilliant analogy, actually, because, when you can see those things visually as well, it's almost like you become more conscious of not wanting to create one of those little knots.
Yeah, like a kink, right? When you're hosing the garden,
yeah,
you get the kink and you go, oh, where's the water pressure going? It's still coming out, but it's just not as flowy. Like I can't water my garden as much as I want to. I can't soak it as much as I want to with a kink in the hose. So yeah, I'm glad you.
Do you know what my word is? If yours is adaptability, then mine is faith. And it's something that, it's the opposite of control. And I think that having faith, unwavering faith in, just what's about to unfold, not to try and think about the, sort of how something's going to happen and when it's going to happen, just to think about the experiences I want to have, what it is that I want and why I want it, focus on those things, and then just go into unwavering faith and just stay in faith. Just keep on going back into faith. Even if you can't see it at that moment appearing in your life, it's like, oh, well, it's probably going to happen in just a minute, and sure enough, it always does. But you've got to put forward a clear enough request. And then all of your heart desires will come to you, so it's being clear, isn't it, on what it is you actually really, really want and why you want it.
I love that. And do you know what? This is a big top tip to people. When you guys listen to this, when you're manifesting, ask, when people say, oh God, give me a sign. Say what the sign is that you want. Don't give me no feather or 5-cent piece. I don't fucking, what can I do with 5-cent piece? Nothing, right? So, or a feather, right? So I say, tell me to open a book on a certain page. Tell me when I put the radio on, a certain song's going to come on. It's going to be a certain lyric. Tell me specifically what you want me to hear. And that's when especially if a loved one's passed, I go, don't just give me a feather or a pebble. I want a full-blown conversation here. So be really specific, but tell spirit, God, whatever you call, whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. Say, I want it to be a really obvious way. I want to know I want to know my next step really obviously.
Yeah.
And you know what gets me? It's when people say, I want abundance, I want money. And then an opportunity for a side hustle will come up or something will come up and they go, no. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you blocked it straight away.
You've asked for it, then you keep saying no. Like, you're annoying. So
Yeah.
they gotta stop giving it to you. It's like...
I love that. It's like saying yes and turn up. So whatever it is, just say yes and turn up, because it might not necessarily be at that gathering that you get what you want, but it might be through you attending that gathering that you meet somebody who leads you onto the opportunity that you've been looking for. So it's a classic blockage to success, isn't it? And we've all done it. Like, let's face it, I've been there, but not anymore. It's like, I think that, just living in faith, it's almost like, that clarity becomes a lot better. It's exactly what you said, being specific about what that message is, and not just looking at every cigarette butt that is on the roadside and thinking that it's got a message for you, because not every feather, I see feathers all the time, and I absolutely damn sure know that it's not my gran every time I see one.
No, just a bird flew over, plucked a feather out of its ass, and it just happened to land when you were walking.
It's so true.
Hayden, I cannot thank you enough for this. You have been so amazing. Everyone's going to get so much out. Please just tell them one more time where they can find you.
Okay, so if you want to engage with any of my services, remember, we do all sorts of stuff. Like we run retreats now as well. So if you're up for flying over to WA, we run these amazing consciousness expanding retreats in the Perth Hills twice a year now as well. You can find me on dreamtimeacademy.com.au or dreamtime-academy.com, which is my learning portal. You can find me on YouTube. There's over 200 free videos, which will start opening you up to the type of work that I do. And, it will start helping you to fully understand where you've come from. Maybe you are also a starseed. You don't know until you start investigating. And, if you don't find me on there, then join me on Facebook. I'm all over Facebook. Just put in Dreamtime Academy and you'll see me. So yeah, it would be awesome to catch up with you. And also remember as well, I do the Starseed numerology reports, which are really quite popular as well. They are a way that I work from someone's date of birth, and from that I can reveal their starry origins through the position of their sun in their natal chart and their astrology, and then bring in their numerological influences. It will also reveal their soul purpose, their strengths and weaknesses, and the best times for them to embark on new projects and ventures. So that's a really great way to first start engaging with Dreamtime and introduce yourself slowly to my services. The Starseed numerology reports, they're incredible.
They are amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Hayden. Guys, this has been Inspired Conversations. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Inspired Conversations. Please share this with everybody you know. We are not a sponsored podcast. We're number 70 in the world, which is absolutely fantastic. We will see you